Cyberpunk 2077 is one of those games where you simply cannot max out every perk tree. In fact, you can't even come close to unlocking all the perks. So, how should you spend your points? In this video, we're going to talk about everything you should know about perks and attributes, so that way you can make an informed decision about building out your character. Cool? Let's go. To get to your perks, go into your in-game menu and click on the character button. If you're playing on PC, simply hit the P key. P as in Papa. The first thing you should probably know is the difference between attributes and perks. Attributes make up these 5 main categories here: body, reflexes, technical ability, intelligence, and cool. Each time you put a point into one of these categories, you'll receive the benefits included in the description of that attribute. For example, if you put 1 point into body, you'll receive these benefits: add 5 health points, add 3 stamina points, and so on. Perks, on the other hand, are found inside the attributes. Let's use the body attribute again as an example. There are 3 perk trees inside of it: Athletics, Annihilation, and Street Brawler. Let's open the Annihilation perk tree and take a closer look. As you can see here, there are about 19 different perks you can put points into, and some of these perks actually allow you to put multiple perk points into them. Now, you can't just go putting points into whatever perks you want, willy-nilly. You'll need to actually follow these paths connecting the perks together, and you'll also need a high enough attribute level to unlock it. You can see the required attribute level at the bottom of the perk description. So, how do you get attribute and perk points? As you may have guessed, you can get points by leveling up your character. What you may not know is that you can also find free perk points as loot during Assault and Progress encounters. You know, these little blue spiked clubs that you see all over the map? The loot you find there will sometimes contain skill shards, and those give you free perk points. I actually didn't know that until the very end of the game, when the only thing left for me to do were the Assault and Progress fights. You can also get perk points and useful passive stat boosts by leveling any of your skills. Look in the bottom left-hand corner of a skill tree and you'll see these skill progression rewards. When you hover your cursor over these, you'll see what rewards you'll get. To access these, you simply need to use the skills. So the more you use handguns, the more skill progression rewards you'll unlock under the handguns perk tree. If you craft a bunch of items, you'll unlock skill progression rewards under the crafting perk tree. The lower level a skill is, the quicker you can level the skill progression, so it's actually a good idea to try and diversify everything you do, because the perk points you earn can be used in whatever skill tree you want. In other words, just because you earn a perk point from the crafting skill progression rewards doesn't mean you need to spend that point back into crafting. You can put that point into whatever perk tree that you want. Anyway, let's talk about something a little more interesting now. Since it'll take almost forever to earn enough points to unlock all the perks, how should you spend your points? Well, after completing everything there is to complete in the game, I personally ended up with 71 attribute points and 88 perk points. That's not a whole lot to play around with, which means being selective and meticulous about build decisions is a good idea. Let's take a look at the crafting skill tree. There is a perk here called Waste Not, Want Not, and it will allow you to get the mods back from every item you disassemble. If you take a look at my build, you can see I have almost all legendary mods on my gear. If I didn't have the Waste Not, Want Not perk, I wouldn't have been able to transfer my legendary mods from one piece of gear to the next. And just as a side note, the 2 mods that I look out for the most are the 30% crit damage and 15 crit chance legendary mods. For a while, I actually didn't know the Waste Not Want Not perk existed, so I ended up losing out on awesome mods that were attached to crappy pieces of gear. I either ended up disassembling those pieces of gear, or I ended up selling them, losing out on those endgame mods. I should have at least put them in my storage, but I was dumb, and hopefully you'll learn from my mistake. My advice to you is to simply take your time, go over all the attributes and perks, figure out what type of character you want to end up with, and try to stick to that plan. As far as perks go, you have the freedom to build any character you want, but when it comes to attributes, I would suggest a balanced approach, at least for your initial playthrough. Attributes play even more of a role in the game than we've gone over already. In order to use higher level cyberware, you'll need a higher level attribute for that category of cyberware. So if I wanted to buy and equip this piece of cyberware, I would need to be at least level 18 in reflexes, but I'm only level 16. Attributes also give you the ability to access things you wouldn't otherwise be able to access during gameplay. To hack higher level terminals, you'll need a higher level in your technical ability attribute. To physically open stuck doors and gates, you'll need a higher level in your body attribute. Attributes will also give you special dialogue options as well, but I don't think that would help you determine how to spend your points, but it's worth mentioning. Whenever you see that you've got a special dialogue option, you'll see a little icon on the right-hand side of the dialogue box. It's usually a good idea to select that in the conversation. For a high estimate, you might end up with around 100 perk points by the end of the game, but you aren't going to be able to enjoy all those perk points throughout your time in Night City because you only get to the max by completing the whole game, and that's why prioritizing and planning your build is so important. Again, I only had 88 points by the time I completed every mission in the game, but I didn't diversify my playstyle a ton, so that's something you could maybe do, like we talked about earlier. I would argue that this fact alone is leaving a bad taste in a lot of gamers' mouths. You know, you spend all this time making your character badass, and then you get to a point where there's just no game left to play. You run out of missions, and your character's awesomeness simply becomes obsolete. At this point, you'll either want to restart the game completely, stop playing entirely, or wait for DLC to come out. Anyway, if you don't like how your character's turning out, you can respec your character, but it's going to cost you 100,000 eddies. And in Cyberpunk 2077, that's quite a bit of money. So again, make a plan and try to stick to that. All of the information we've gone over applies to Cyberpunk as it currently is. When DLC comes out, I'm sure the max level cap will increase and more perk and attribute points will become available. Well, if you found this video to be helpful, please consider dropping a thumbs up on it. If you'd like more Cyberpunk content from me, a subscription would be very much appreciated. Thanks for watching, and Godspeed.